stamp swap. I'm going to stumble on that word.
I'm wanting to read it as like stop, swamp.
Stop. See, I was thinking stomp swap.
Oh,
or swamp. Stomp swamp.
Yeah, stomp swamp. That's what
yeah,
I was saying.
Stomp swap, not stamp swap.
Stomp swap.
Stomp swap.
That sounds fun.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Board Game Buzz today. My name is Carly.
And I'm Kim.
And today we're going to be reviewing the brand new title Stamp Swap from Stonemaier Games. Stamp Swap is a 1 to 5 player game designed by Paul Solomon and the art is done by Connor Gillette.
I
said it wrong. Gillette. Restart. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay.
Sorry.
Stamp Swap is a 1 to 5 player game which is designed by Paul Solomon and the art is done by Connor
Gillette.
Thank you, Gillette. I've said it like 5 times and I keep messing it up. It's time for the animal.
You are stumbling over your words.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I cannot do this. All right. It's time for the annual Stamp, Swap, and Show. Did I say that right?
It's time for the annual Stamp, Swap, and Show.
There you go. It is the perfect time for collectors. Oh my goodness. Beckham! Now is the perfect time for stamp collectors to come together to show off all their stamps, swap with other people, basically trying to get the most points. This is the newest title from Stonemaier Games, which we are so excited to kind of share about. But before we share our thoughts on this game, we're going to jump into a really general overview of how this game plays, and then we'll come back here and share our thoughts on Stamp Swap.
My earring.
Oh, did it? Oh no!
Stamp Swap is an I Pick, You Choose tile placement game. At the beginning of each round of Stamp Swap, you will select items from a central pool of stamps and attendee cards. At the end of each round, you will add your stamps to your album, arranging them carefully to maximize your score. This game is played over 3 rounds, and each round is divided into 3 phases: the collect phase, swap phase, and then the show phase. At the beginning of every round, you will shuffle the event cards, then draw and reveal a number of cards equal to the number of players around the table. You will then create a pool of items from the displayed event cards. There will also be an event shown on the event cards. This event changes from round to round and mixes up every round of the game. After getting the general pool set up, then you move on to the collect phase. In the collect phase, players will take turns gaining 1 item from the pool until each player has 6 items. If you select a face down stamp, you may view it, but it remains face down for now. Specialist cards are active immediately when selected and for as long as they are in your play area. One of the tokens that you can choose to collect is the first player token. But at the end of the collect phase, if the first player token is still in the pool, the last player to select the item gains the token and places it beneath their daily collection. Once everybody has collected their stamps, then we move on to the swap phase. In the swap phase, players simultaneously split up their daily collections. During this time, players can choose to reserve 1 item by placing it in the reserve area on your player mat. You will then split the remaining items into 2 piles above your player mat, with each pile having at least 1 item. Once all players have finished creating their piles, the player with the first player token takes the first turn. The active player will then choose one of the piles from an opponent's player mat and places it below their own. That opponent now places all items in their remaining pile below their player mat and then can proceed to choose a new pile. After choosing, they can reveal all of their face down stamps. Once every pile has been moved below player mats, then the swap phase ends and we move on to the show phase. In the show phase, players will simultaneously move their chosen, reserved, and remaining items onto their albums and score points. Stamps must be placed upright with their value or cancellation mark showing in the top right, and each stamp must be placed if possible. If not, discard it and immediately gain points equal to its value. You will score your items and albums as follows. You will score points as shown on your exhibitors. If you currently have the first player token, you will also score 2 points. And you will choose one of the contest cards at the bottom of the board that does not have one of your show tickets. You will score points for that card's scoring condition. Then place one of your show tickets there to indicate that you have entered that contest. Once that is done, then that triggers the end of the round. You will discard the top event card and any remaining items in the pool, then advance the phase token to the next round. If the phase token moves to a new day, repeat the round setup and begin the next round. Otherwise, move on to the final show. During the final show, all players simultaneously score their album one last time as follows. You will count the number of forever stamps in your album and compare that with the other players. You will score 10 points if you have the most. 6 points for second place, 3 points for third place, and no points are awarded for any lower rank. You will score the points shown on all of your stamps. If you have any specialist cards, you will score 2 points for each of those. And you will score points according to the final contest card in the finale section of the board. Once all players have scored the points, the player with the most points wins.
All right, so I really hope that overview gives you a general idea of how this game plays, but we're going to go ahead and jump into our thoughts on this game, starting with everything that we enjoyed about Stamp Swap.
One of the things that I really enjoy about the game, and I guess I like this mechanic, and a few games like Isle of the Sky is one of my favorite games, where you get to like, you pick your stamps and then you get to like kind of like puzzle it out and to put them into 2 separate groupings.
I really like I split you choose mechanisms in games.
Yeah,
that's something that I kind of that's something that I've kind of, the more I kind of get into gaming, like I really like that because I like the tension that it adds. But what makes this one really interesting is how there are some tiles that are face down. So when you are splitting and when you're choosing, sometimes you don't know like what you're actually getting from opponents. Like it made the I split you choose mechanism that much more interesting.
I agree. It added like a nice little element of suspense because sometimes I would get a pairing and then it's like, oh, there is that bonus in there. Or you could, like this one in this case, in this example, it's flipped face, but there are a couple of negative ones in there.
Yes.
So if it's face down and someone picks
try to like
that,
screw over your opponents a little bit.
they get like a little negative point. Like it's not a huge, negative thing, but it's just like a little fun element of surprise and suspense that can happen.
Yeah. I also really liked how many different cards that the game came with to swap out. I forget what these are called. They're not like end game goals. They're like mid game goals, maybe?
Yeah.
Whatever these goals are down at the bottom. The game comes with so many different ones. So every time you play,
contests.
Yeah, the different contests. So every time you play, you really can swap them in and out super easily. Kind of gives you different things to be going for, different things to kind of focus in on. So I like that variability that those added.
And the other thing that I liked about it is that it's not like you had to like go in this order. Like on Friday we're scoring this one, on Saturday we're scoring this one. I could kind of pick and choose which one I want to do on each day. And then the fact that there are 4 to choose from, but there's only 3 days that you're showing or submitting your tickets to the contest. I liked that show too.
You can't do everything.
Yeah, because you can't
really
do everything,
have to kind of
so
focus.
you had to focus in on a couple things, like 2 points per stamp, or 2 points for 2 whatever, or large squares. Okay, so maybe I have 2 large squares in my book on Friday, but so maybe I could go for that and get 8 points. But maybe if I'm wait till do it for the last show, maybe I'll even have even more and I could get like 20 points. So it's just kind of that trying to figure out and balance like which one should I go for each time. The setup and which shapes of stamps are available are pretty much the same, like round to round. But there are these like round
the goals
or things that change the round each time.
Not goals.
Yeah.
Stuff
but just like a rule change for the round, and I really liked that too because it added like sometimes it limited how many you could take each time. Sometimes you got to take an extra one. Sometimes it was like you had to like switch stamps with the other like player. You had to pick one to switch. Little rule change that happened every round.
Yeah. It was also interesting how the tiles that are available, there are bound to be tiles that people are not going to pick up. You can't get everything.
Yeah.
So it kind of going to add to that tension, right, of what do I really want to get? And so it's like, if I really want that particular thing, I know I just won't get it. Somebody else will get it, and then I can pick it up later. Well, there's the likelihood that maybe nobody picks up the one that you actually want. And so that, again, it adds to that tension of, okay, I really want that. Maybe I should get it and just hope that I can split my stuff in such a way that nobody selects that particular one. I liked how there was just so many tiles that you had to choose from.
And building off of that, I didn't use this, like, you can actually reserve a stamp, which I didn't use that much the first playthrough.
I used it every single round.
The next times I played, because there would be times where I'd be like, okay, I really want this one that I picked up, and I'm going to have to split it and hope that maybe that they don't pick this one. But I'm like, wait, I can actually reserve it.
Yep.
So I really appreciated being able to just have that one chance to like just reserve the one
Yep.
that you really want. Usually in like tile placement games, there's rules and structures, and like you have to place it next to something that you've already put down. When Carly was explaining the rules, and she was like, no, you can just kind of like, now we just put them on our book and you put them however you want. I was like, what? There's no...
It feels weird at first. The very first time you place it, you're like, okay, this feels kind of weird.
It just feels so like, I guess I'm just gonna put these down. But I was surprised that I actually like really liked that part of the game.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like put it down and make it look pretty and try to meet these different show goals. They're the contests, and I just like had fun placing it how I wanted it to, without any limits or restrictions.
Sometimes some of the cards will put restrictions and stuff. Like I know one of them was like having canceled stamps on your on the edges or sometimes.
Right, but even then, it's not like that's just something if you want to try to go for.
Yes,
so
exactly.
it gives you like a goal to go for, but it's not like a rule that makes it you have to put these on the edge and whatnot.
Something else that I wanted to mention is I loved how when you were splitting and making your groups, it's not just the stamps that you collect, but it's also the cards and the abilities that you collect, and also like the first player token.
Yes.
I think my favorite part was how were these like specialist cards that you could collect, and then you had to split them and like, do I want like, can I get that ability? Because these abilities, some of them can be very, very, very beneficial. And then you also have your individual, this kind of like sidestepping, but you also have your personal kind of goals that you're also going for, which are all different. All the boards are different. So there's lots of kind of like layering to the scoring, which I really appreciated and liked.
Especially because this is so like freeform and like do.
Yes.
I appreciated having like these different goals and objectives to try to like, in my free-forming it, make it so I was also
kind
doing
of
this
maximizing
and this.
everything.
Yes.
Yep.
I think one of the other things that like I appreciated probably maybe the most about this game is how easy it is to table. Because it plays in, you play it Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you have 3 rounds, so it goes quick. It's just, and it was easy to just kind of like present and be like, okay, this is what we do. And then like go.
Yeah.
It's not a hard teach. It's not like a hard one to grasp and whatnot. Even like there are games that I love, but they are a chore to like set up or to teach even. So I really appreciated this like nice family weight, I guess, aspect of being able to, okay, like, yeah, we can play a quick game of Stamp Swap. It actually kind of gives me cozy vibes.
Yeah.
This game has cozy vibes to it. Like, I can see just, like, I mean, we're learning it and playing it in the summer and it's hot, but, like, I can see, like, in the winter, like, pulling this out, like, being, like, all, like, bundled up and having your tea. I mean, like, okay, now we're gonna, like, collect our stamps.
Collect our stamps,
I don't know, there's just something about it that seems kind of like cozy.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of swap. We're gonna swap.
We're gonna swap
tactics here. And we are going to kind of start talking about stuff that we didn't like about this game or could potentially see others not liking. I think the biggest thing for me that's kind of pulling it back is I don't think the theme is super drawing me in super much. I know stamp collecting is like a huge hobby. I know tons of people are in it, and I'm sure tons of people will love this theme.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine. I'm fine with it. It's not one that I'm like, oh, I need to play that because of the theme, you know?
Yeah, yep.
It's not like drawing me in necessarily.
Yeah, but to me, this is a game that's like, don't judge a book by its. Often I think maybe you can with board games a little bit, but like
I do.
We judge them by what they look like and their theme, but like for me it's like, okay, don't judge a game by its cover and its theme, because the gameplay was fun and charming, like I said, cozy, and like just like an overall enjoyable experience. But the theme, like when Carly like told me what the game was and we were looking at it, I was like, Stamp Swap? Like, what? Really?
You ended up liking it.
I did end up liking it. But I was just like laughing so hard. I'm like, wait, we're collecting stamps and we're going to I'm like, maybe I should make fun because collecting board games and maybe going to a board game convention is super nerdy. But like, that's where like my mind went. And I'm so much so that I was like, what I actually want is I want this to be like board game swap where we're
collecting games for your calyxes.
Yeah, collecting our board games and putting them on our shelf, and then we're going to like the board game convention. I was like, why did they do that?
I know. I agree. I think that the theme might be a little bit of like a barrier to entry to this game a little bit. I'm sure if you love stamps, and obviously I think you're going to love this one. But if you like don't know anything about stamps, I don't think people are going to be gravitated to pull this off the shelf right from the beginning.
Yeah, and Joran had the same like thought. He was like, oh, I liked this a lot more than I thought I would based off of the theme, because he was like, the theme did not appeal to him at all. But like it works for the game and for the idea, and I'm like, oh, it's actually like really like charming and fun being like to pretend like I'm collecting my stamps.
I actually had to go to the post office because I had some games I had to mail back to publishers, and as I was there I was actually like looking, because at least maybe all post offices do this, but they had like a little display of like the stamps that you could buy, and we're looking at it being like, I've never really noticed stamps before. Like, I think this game has like made me like notice stamps a little bit more. For whatever reason, what kind of kept messing with my brain was the stamps themselves, like the artwork on the stamps, because some stamps, like for example the flower stamps, I think like the flowers and the animals, like it just shows the flower and then the rest of the stamp is like that actual color. But some of them, like the space ones, there's actual like color on the whole inside, and then the actual color of what the stamp is just along the outside of the stamp. And for whatever reason, just all the different colors kept throwing me off. Like when I was trying to look at my board being like, okay, I know this goal is to have, one of every color. It was hard for me sometimes to, like, okay, I have a red, I have an orange, and, like, the red and the oranges, when they're side by side, you can clearly tell, but when they're all the way across the board, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell. Like, I just felt like some of the colors were a little bit, like, diluted. It kind of, the space ones kept throwing me off because they have that background.
Yeah, well, and I agree, and especially in terms of, like, you have the monuments and the vehicles are just... They're just colored the stamp border.
The
color,
stamp border.
Like what the color is meant to be, but
then the animals aren't.
But then the animals aren't, and
then the space one has the background.
Aren't, and the space one has the background. So I kind of wish they would have just like done it all in color and then made like this really nice big bold like border.
I feel like in lots of polyomino games, you want to like line up completely,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
You want to like fully touch all the sides. You want to fully, you want to fully like build it out. The stamps in this game are actually cut a hair smaller than the grid on the board. Yeah. So if you do line up your stamps where they're completely touching, everything is going to get thrown off. So when you're placing your stamps, and maybe that like is thematic in regards to when you are actually placing stamps in your stamp book, you want to give a little bit of space. But you do want to be mindful of the space in this game. You can't have everything touching.
When we were playing and I was like meddling with it, and Carly was like, I'm dying because like you're doing it too. Like,
yeah, like, I thought it was a me thing because I first played this game without Kim, and then I played it with Kim to teach her. And I look over, and literally, I think we were still on like our first day, and I noticed you or maybe it was our second day, but I noticed you kind of messing with the board, and you were like kind of messing, and I was just dying because I was like, it's not just a me thing.
There's like a clarification section for some of the contest cards and specialist cards, but it doesn't have it for all of them. Felt like that was a little weird, and there was actually like one, like, and some of the scoring goals weren't clear to me. Like, I'm like, how do I score this? Like, I could make a guess, but I wasn't exactly sure. I needed a little bit of clarification, and like one of them, I couldn't find it in the rules, so I had like sent a picture to Carly. I was like, do you know how this scores? And she was like, no. Is it in the rules? I was like, no, it's not. So like just having, I guess, a complete appendix, I guess, would have been appreciated.
All right, so we've talked a lot about this game, stuff we liked, stuff we didn't. We're going to go ahead and jump into our final thoughts and ratings for Stamp Swap. I'll go ahead and start. I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed this game. I really, when I first played it, I remember I got it and I was like, okay, that looks interesting. Again, kind of like we talked about, like the theme wasn't really pulling me in. But after playing it, like, the first couple times, I was like, okay, there is a charm here. Like,
Yeah.
I do like this. I do think it feels different from me personally, from the other games that I have in my collection. So I'm going to be giving Stamp Swap a 7.5. I think the only thing that's kind of pulling it down for me, honestly, is the theme. It's not one that I would have gravitated towards if we wouldn't have been able to receive it for review purposes. But after playing it, I was like, no, I do like this. So I did enjoy this game. Like I said, I enjoyed it a lot more than I actually thought I was going to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a great, like, quick after dinner game.
Yeah.
People over for dinner.
That's
and
exactly where I was
pull out
thought
Stamp
this
Swap.
in.
Yeah. I'm coming in at a 7. For me, this game is a good game. Like, it's good. I liked it. It was enjoyable. It was fun. I would play it. I would play it with anybody.
Yeah. This is one that you really could play with anybody.
Like,
it's
one
one of those
with
games.
anybody. And it was just, it was sweet. It was charming. I had a fun time with it. It didn't, like, leave me feeling, like, super excited. Like, whee! Which, like, for me, that's when I rate board games higher. But it was, like, an enjoyable experience. It was fun. And I definitely would recommend giving it a try. Yeah.
So if you do enjoy stamps, absolutely check this one out.
Yeah.
And I think even if you don't enjoy stamps,
Still give it a try. Yeah, because like we both had fun, and we were both like, not, like I said at the beginning, like, don't judge it by its cover, don't judge it by its theme. The mechanics are fun, and even like though the theme wasn't something that like I gravitated toward, I enjoyed how it played out in the game because
Yes.
it is a thematic game.
All right, so those were our thoughts on Stamp Swap. Huge shout out to Stonemaier Games for sending us this copy to review for you today. If you enjoyed this review and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it means so much if you can do that. Really helps support us and everything that we're doing over here.
That's me pushing the like button.
Boop.
Or you pushing the like button.
But until next time, we hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later.
I have 3 songs stuck in my head at once.
Who do you?
Yeah, it's like us, and then it goes to I look in people's windows.
They're all
Two.
blasted
I look
after
through the
this
windows
of this life.
All 3 are just in my head.